is.
It was a dark time for the podcast. Not 30 people had yet liked it.
That's right.
Only 27 had.
I like that. That's very good. That's very good.
All right. This is the Fill in the Blank podcast.
Episode 10.
Yes. Life After Film School?
Life After Film School.
Yeah. I'm Greg.
I'm Austin.
It's the Star Wars Spectacular.
It is.
And let's dive into it.
Yeah.
So, couple pieces of business as usual.
Yeah.
You guys all failed us.
Yep. But not for the last time.
Not for the last time. So there's only been one more person liked it. Really?
Really?
So we're wearing clothes right now.
Yep. I'm fully clothed. In fact, I've got on more clothes than I normally wear.
Uh-huh.
That's what you get.
That's what happens.
That's what you get.
I hope you're happy.
I'm not.
I'm not happy at all.
I know.
So that happened. As always, would you go on that Facebook page and like it?
Yeah, please.
Facebook.com/FITB
I find your lack of
podcast
faith concerning. What?
Disturbing.
Disturbing,
Yeah.
yeah.
And concerning.
And concerning.
So FITB Podcast on Facebook. Like it, please. And there's been lots of fun polls going on this week.
They sure have.
And people were participating
They
in that.
were participating in the polls.
And I'm going to be posting up another movie review for Pain and Gain in the next couple days, maybe before this goes up.
Yep. And I like that someone on our director poll decided to write in David Fincher, who we did not talk about.
Not David. Did David Fincher get written in? Because I also saw, what's his face, Mulholland Drive guy also was written in.
Oh, David Lynch.
David Lynch.
Oh. David Lynch. Ew.
His movies don't make any sense.
No, I mean, I understand he's doing something there, but it's
he's doing something there.
But, you know, and I know Twin Peaks is widely...
Twin Peaks, sure.
Highly regarded.
But that had to be slightly unfinched so that people could watch it.
Unlynched.
David Lynch.
Lynch.
See, now you got me confused.
Yeah.
Unlynched. Because then you could tolerate it on TV. Had to have an actual storyline that made sense.
Barely.
Barely, yes.
Yeah.
But no, I like the way that he talks like this all the time. He has no volume.
Yeah. No, I know. It's true. It's true. But you know who has less volume than him is... oh gosh, his name just escaped me. William Friedkin. William Friedkin has even less...
I've never heard him talk.
My sound design teacher at university was his sound designer.
Okay.
And so he actually had him come in with Friedkin and talk to us about, you know, how sound effect, much you... And that guy's just like, it has to go like this. You're like shaking a phone around like, I need a sound like this. It was like, whoa. Calm down. Calm down.
All right.
But that's just
funny.
Either way.
Anyways, like us there. Subscribe on iTunes. Comment. Rate us on iTunes. 5 stars is good. 4 stars, good as well. You know,
4 stars,
just as good.
Just as good.
And also Stitcher.
Name the movie.
Yeah, name that movie. Also Stitcher, if you prefer that method.
Or our official website.
All the above.
All the
Just
above.
do it.
Right.
And tell your friends to do it.
Yeah.
That's really what we
You're
got to do.
going to have a good time. I promise you. I understand we got off to a slow start.
And I understand also you being like, oh, just listen to this. Like, I'm not going to make someone else listen to it. I know you're not going to make them, but maybe suggest it.
Right. Not think about it like this. You're not subjecting them to it. You're suggesting it to them.
Yes, that's it. I hope people don't feel like we're subjecting them to anything.
Well, there's a few out there I know they do. But too bad.
All right, so before we hit up the Star Wars, what's been going on?
Well, I just had one thing I wanted to throw out there real quick, and it's a new trend that I've seen in commercials.
Okay.
Namely, commercials for television programs, like previews for television programs.
Okay.
Not a commercial for products. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's this new thing now where they're saying, you know, you're going to be the biggest loser if you don't watch The Biggest Loser live on TV. Let's choose a different example because I actually heard this. You know, this Thursday, a stunning new episode of Hannibal. Watch it live.
Oh, right.
And I'm like,
well,
first of all, they're not doing it live. And I know what they mean.
Yeah,
I do know what they
they're
mean.
wanting you to not watch it on Hulu.
Not watch it on Hulu.
DVR.
Don't TiVo it. Don't DVR it. Don't wait for the DVDs to come out. Watch it as it airs.
Yeah.
But that is not live, and I will not accept you changing the meaning of the English language to suit your advertising purposes.
All right.
That I don't like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not live. I was trying to think of what they should say.
The other day I was watching Star Wars live. Because I was alive and watching Star Wars.
Well, I guess if by
that's what they mean.
That's what their standards are. Then you're right. But that's not what I don't think. So that's fair.
What is your alternative?
I was thinking about that. It was really hard to come up with.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. You need to use the word air somehow.
Okay, as it airs or something.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But I understand why. I mean, I get what they're doing because they make way more money off the ads live.
Oh yeah. Oh, I totally understand.
Than they do.
But you need to do that.
All the other ancillary viewings of it.
They need to do it like, you know, you could make it sound even more exciting than live if you did something like, you know, the premiere broadcast.
Yeah, that would be good.
Something like that. Make it sound like you're getting to attend an event.
Yeah.
By seeing it.
Yeah.
Well, which I think is what they're trying to do with live, but it's incorrect usage.
Yeah.
Because there are programs that are live.
Yeah.
Like Saturday Night Live.
Saturday
the
Night
news.
Live. Yeah.
And if you're telling me you see Hannibal live, then when I tune in,
sports and things are live.
Right, they're live.
Yeah.
As in they are happening as you watch them.
Yeah. I think what they ought to do is I think they shot themselves in the foot because I'm all about having access to these shows after the fact digitally.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer because they make more money off it that way on the back end. Like they make their initial commercial money, but then they also make money from that.
Yeah.
But I don't. Why did they all agree to let it come out the next day?
Like
if you said that the last week's episode will come out online after the same time as this week's episode, then there would be an incentive to be like, well, I missed the entire conversation on that episode. Like when you have like a show like Mad Men.
Or what you can't do is it can't come out the same time as this one. It has to come out the hour before.
Yeah, the hour before.
So that you can watch it.
Ostensibly, if you missed it, you could watch it the hour before.
And then be ready to go.
And then watch the live show.
Yes.
Yeah, or 2 hours before or something.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why they all were like the next day. And I'm like, but now there really isn't, because if I'm got something to do, oh well. And if it's a show that has a water cooler conversation going on with it, like Game of Thrones or something. I mean, HBO they repeat everything 9,000 times, so it's not a very good example.
No, I know what you mean.
Network
Breaking
Bad or something like that. Then you can just go get it, and then you're like, okay, well, I just I saw it. You can see it an hour after it airs,
right?
So. That's what's weird.
What you got to do is build the demand so that you feel like if I miss my window,
which is what it used to be. That used to be like destination TV. Is like if you miss the show, oh God,
right?
What's going to happen? And
right.
That's no longer exists. But
exactly,
calling it live isn't going to bring it back.
And it's just confusing to young people who don't actually remember when there was. Mm-hmm. You would actually do special episodes of normally not live TV shows live as a special thing. Like a thing. The Twilight Zone occasionally would have a live show.
Or even like sitcoms would do it.
Right. Well, the last sitcom probably ever to do it was 30 Rock.
Yeah, they did it. Yeah, they're the most recent ones to do it. Yeah.
But I just don't see that going on a whole lot more.
No.
Because, I mean, broadcast TV is not...
I think soap operas should all be live all the time.
Oh, man.
They're basically live. Like, they don't... They don't
I understand that.
They have cue cards and they're doing it off the cuff.
They're writing it like right then.
They're writing it like minutes before. Uh-huh. So like I'm like, you should have these be live. It'd be so great. Yeah. Because there'd just be things. You'd have people corpsing and stuff, and like it'd be awesome.
I think they should do reality TV live.
They do. Big Brother's like that.
Okay.
Like, I mean, parts of it are live, parts of it are like, this happened, and now here's what's going on.
I don't think reality TV would be as big as it was.
It's so boring if it's live, though.
If you do it live.
Well, right.
That's why I want it to be live.
Yeah, it'd be so boring.
I am wishing for the death.
You want it to go away.
I'm wishing for the death of reality TV.
I like certain reality shows.
Oh.
So...
Unless you count Jeopardy as a reality show. I do not.
I wish Jeopardy... Oh, game shows should be live. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because you'd have people just be like... Because they just edit that stuff out, But
no, you're wrong.
You,
Trebek.
Yeah, just people bleeping and stuff.
Yeah. But even live isn't live anymore because you have that delay.
Yeah, well, they have the
Janet
Oscars Jackson
are
delay.
Live, right.
But I'm fine with the delay, I mean...
Yeah, I still consider that live.
Yeah, it's still live. All right. Let's get right into the Star Warsiness.
All right.
So, what... here's a little... Star Wars time.
Now it's time for... Star Wars
Spectacular. So...
Yes.
So, let's talk a little bit about... Because what we really want to talk about here is Star Wars Episode 7.
Yes, the new ones.
It's just mind-blowing that it even exists.
Or will exist, right?
But let's just kind of give people... Obviously, they all know that we love Star Wars.
We do. And I think that's a generational thing.
Probably. Although there's a bunch of people in our generation who don't, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? What's your problem?
No. There's a bunch of people we went to film school with who don't because they're pretentious pricks.
No, I mean, there's people, like, there's people that you just
okay, but there's always people who don't like something. I mean, that's not...
Well, film school people almost unanimously hate it,
right?
For no reason other than that they feel like they need to.
Right. I'm talking about the common man.
Yes.
I think a greater proportion of people like Star Wars than don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so first let's just start off with, just to give people just a little bit of, catch them up to where we are. Star Wars.
Yeah.
Why do you like it? Yeah, it's great. Why is it great to you?
It's just, it literally is, and this is the thing that I think is the reason why you have such huge opinions and such people getting such outrage about Star Wars, is that it's a childhood thing. It's something that you find as a child, and you continue to love it. But I think the reason it resonates. I'm not saying it's a child's movie.
No. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
That your childhood perspective on it makes it even dearer to your heart than it could be.
Right. Then maybe it deserves. Then maybe the quality of the film on the whole deserves. I like it. I understand that I like it proportionally way more. I think it's like the greatest film ever. I know it's not.
Okay,
I'm aware of the fact that it's not the greatest film ever.
We will talk about this really briefly again when we get to episodes 1 through 3, because that's what I was going to talk about.
Well, that's where it factors in.
That's where it factors in.
Yeah.
The reason I think I love the original Star Wars, 2 reasons. One, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And you're seeing stuff that you've never seen before.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it feels like, why doesn't that... Like, when you see Chewbacca... Mm-hmm. You're like, I could totally picture Wookiees walking down the street.
Yeah.
Like, it manages to get a certain verisimilitude that you could not get.
Yeah.
Like, most science fiction doesn't get. This is ridiculous. Versus Star Wars is beyond ridiculous.
And somehow,
yet somehow feels like that should be real. Chewbacca, Yoda, R2-D2, lightsabers, the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
All of these things seem like things you should be able to encounter on a daily basis. If you walked down the street and saw a Wookiee, you'd be like, hey, there's a Wookiee.
Yeah, there's something about that, like... I love the story of it. I love the simplicity of the story.
Yes.
And then, but also, there's the whole monomyth thing, and that's the main thing behind it.
That's what I was going to get to next. I think that's why it resonates so strongly with us.
Everyone.
With everyone, and especially children. Because it is the mythology for modern times.
And this is a film that you don't even have to understand English.
Right.
And just be like, that was amazing.
Right.
What I just watched.
And
I have no idea what anyone said, but I know what happened.
But you knew it happened, and you enjoyed it. And that's because at its core, and we could do a whole episode where I back this up with evidence. Yes. It is, in fact, the monomyth. Like you said, if you read Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth.
And that's just...
Or The Hero's Journey.
There's no... George Lucas will just tell you that's what I was doing.
Oh yeah, he says that he wrote an outline off of Joseph Campbell's book. Yeah. So but he did it successfully.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it resonates.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, the reason I really like episodes 1 through 3, as well as the original, obviously the original trilogy, because it has things like Han Solo, the Millennium Falcon, Chewbacca.
Yeah. R2-D2. Even those. Yeah. They're in there.
They're in the. Yeah, but Come on, right? Amazing.
Yeah. It's the original trilogy to me. We'll get into that whole versus thing in a minute here, but it feels more authentic.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, and it's something about like you were saying a minute ago. It's not about the actual effects. Mm-hmm. It's something deeper inside the makeup of it that makes everything feel like it's there exist. And that it should exist and that it does exist. You just haven't seen it yet.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it because it's not a quality of visual effect thing, because they go into the cantina and it's just a bunch of big rubber masks and stuff.
Right.
But it's dark. There's a bunch of atmosphere in the air. Like it just makes you feel like, oh yeah, this is real.
Exactly.
Like and we're not showing you off the aliens. Here's a cut. There's a bunch of aliens in the background, but also the guy that we're trying to see is right here.
Right.
Like they're not important. They're just there, which nobody really did. Everyone wants to show off their effects.
Right.
And this is more like, well, yeah, of course that's here. That's what lives here.
There's a certain nonchalance about...
Yeah, about showing craziness.
Right.
Yeah.
And for some reason, although lightsabers are ridiculous... lightsabers are ridiculous.
Yeah.
For some reason, you feel like I should be able to get one of those.
Yeah, why don't
Same thing with R2-D2.
Yeah.
You feel like I should have one of him rolling around my house.
Yeah, everyone should have an astromech droid.
Yeah, you need one. And if Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi are the hero's journey, because that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Episode 1 through 3 turns the entire saga into what Joseph Campbell called the cosmogonic cycle.
Okay.
Which is the creation and the destruction of worlds.
Yeah.
So it takes it to a whole nother level. How does evil come into the world? How does evil leave the world? Mm-hmm. What is that cycle of birth and rebirth?
How does it get into power? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What is that cycle of birth and rebirth? And I understand that people say episodes 1 through 3 are not as good.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of that is seeing the originals through that lens of nostalgia.
That's the main problem, I think, because kids love those.
Yeah, they do.
Kids love all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think you need to kind of step back and try to view the original. If you're going to view the 1 through 3 with the lens now of adulthood, then go back and watch the other ones and try to watch those with the lens of adulthood.
I still argue that I mean, I'm not going to get into a debate about the quality of writing. Obviously, The Empire Strikes Back is the best written film there is. But look, taken as a whole, they're all written at about the same quality level.
And it's not great.
It's not great. It's a matter of, I would argue that the original trilogy actors took a script that was the same, Star Wars, the original one, same level of script as 1 through 3.
Absolutely.
But those actors took that and did something with it, and George Lucas isn't famous for getting great performances.
That's totally on the actors, because George Lucas says, just say the words I wrote.
Right, and now you can just give him that, because that's what he's asking for, and he'll be happy with that. Or, I would argue that Harrison Ford and people like that took it an extra step.
And I would actually argue that people like Ewan McGregor...
Yeah, he did too.
The one person who obviously wins is Ian McDiarmid.
Yes.
For taking, he plays Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
And taking what is really trashy lines.
Yes.
And imbuing them with a Shakespearean quality.
Well, people make fun of him being like, unlimited power. But it's great.
That's one of my favorite lines in the
That's why you remember it, right?
Right. Absolutely. And like I said, I think Ewan McGregor pulls it off too. I really think he's trying to give it his all. So I would go and watch the original trilogy and try to be a little bit, the prequel trilogy.
The prequel.
Try to be a little bit more forgiving and really take notice of how it is he's trying to link.
He's trying to do.
Right. Yeah. And that's amazing if you really look at it. On top of that, it does have, and this is another thing, I think if you wait 10 years also, you'll like them more.
Yeah, and you will. And there's some missed opportunities and things that I can point out now. And you know what? I'm sure that if I had been alive when The Empire Strikes Back came out in theaters, which I wasn't.
Right.
I may have been able to think of some missed opportunity there too.
Exactly.
I can't now. It's like the perfect movie.
Right.
But I can think of missed opportunities in the prequels because I lived through them and I have such a huge. I've seen the other ones thousands of times prior to even seeing episode 1. So,
right. But I'm just asking for those of you who were alive at that time. And chances are, if you're a really conservative person, you won't agree with me on this. But if you were alive at the time, remember how you felt sitting in the theater when Padme looks to her right in the Senate and says, "So that's how democracy dies."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You remember, and you had that, and you were like, you walked out of the theater that day, and you're like, "That's right.
That's right. That is what's gonna."
You felt like he was trying to say something about the times. I'm not saying whether it was fair or not to feel like that at the time, but being a young person, you feel those things. And I think if you give it some time, you just don't make up your mind that you hate them, and then you wait 10 years. When you see them again, whatever you were going through at that time, those movies will be inextricably linked to it.
And I think that, especially the prequels, but all the Star Wars movies, because there's a lot of people who are very critical of the Star Wars movies, all of them. Obviously, they're wrong, but
well, I've had people argue with me that they're not that they're not based on mythology.
No, that you can't argue.
That it's just cowboys in space.
We can argue the quality of the film, but you can't argue that.
Exactly. And I just want everybody out there listening who doesn't agree with me that they're mythology to know that with all ego and offense not meant, you're wrong.
That's incorrect. But it's another one where we've talked a lot about when we do Hating is Bad. Like, you got to be able to just enjoy a film.
Yeah, be a kid again.
Every single one of these movies, if you can go in there and take off your critical cap and put on your, entertain me,
5-year-old
give
cap.
me some escapism and put something awesome in front of me, that's what they are. They're that at its best.
Yeah.
They're all a great fun ride. You always see something you didn't know you could even see or be done.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Always breaking ground.
That's what I was about to say, is that even if, yes, there are some wooden performances.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, each one of those movies, the very first time you saw it, showed you something you'd never seen before.
Yeah. And especially with the prequels, I loved every single one of those the first time I saw them.
Me too.
Now I saw them again and again. I've seen them a lot, and some of my thoughts on some of them have my opinion of some of them has dropped a little bit. But I'm never going to say they're bad.
Well, I used to be the harshest critic of episode 1.
Yeah.
Like I used to say that one was the worst of the prequels. But you know what? It has Darth Maul. It has a pod race. It has Qui-Gon Jinn. Like the more I think about I get a warm little feeling remembering that time period.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I just can't bring myself to hate the prequels. And the original trilogy made me who I am as a man today.
Yes. So let me. So
with that,
just leave that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Knowing that 2005 Episode 3 came out, we're done with Star Wars. Right. We're gonna get some TV shows. We're gonna get a cartoon. We might get a live action TV show. That'll be fun. We're done. What goes on that day? Because I called you and I was like, what if I told you that they just sold Lucasfilm and Star Wars Episode 7's coming out in 2015?
Well, to be fair, you said, first off, what if I told you that Disney just bought Lucasfilm?
Yes.
And I was like, what? Uh-huh. So wait, Disney owns the whole world now? Uh-huh. And you were like, yes. Now, sit down if you're not already sitting down. What if I told you that Episode 7 is coming out? And my honest reaction at first was, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't know how to feel about it.
Well, I felt two things. I felt two things at once. I felt, one, like, I don't know how I feel about that because I don't know if I want more story to be told.
Yeah.
And the other side of me felt like, okay, get your bleep ready. Okay. F*** you guys. Because you know I'm going to go see it. You know I'm going to.
You're going to take my money.
You're just coming to take more of my money, and I will give it to you.
Oh, I don't feel like... I'm not mad at them. I'm like, please, please show me more.
I don't know. I just felt like you're taking advantage. But actually, since then, the little bit that I do know about the prequels, which that's what we're going to get into. Sequels now.
Yes, the sequels.
Which you're going to get into. I have stayed somewhat blissfully unaware of a lot of the news.
We're going to go through it right now.
The only thing that I will stay, for the record, before we go into this, I want you to know what I know.
Okay.
I know that they are making Episode 7, 8, and 9. I know that they are Disney films.
Yeah.
I know that they will possibly be making some spin-off films.
Yes.
And this is the right music for that.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that later. And I also know that J.J. Abrams is directing.
Okay.
And I want to state for the record that I am on board with J.J. Abrams.
I am on board with J.J. Abrams directing this film too.
So with that,
we'll cover that too. So first off, let's just start with Disney Lucasfilm. Like, I don't have a problem with. I think if you're going to sell Lucasfilm to someone, you should sell it to
I can't think of somebody better to own it.
They already have a relationship with the parks and Star Tours and that kind of stuff.
And Indiana Jones.
And so they already have that Lucasfilm relationship.
You already think of them as being part of Disney somehow.
I know,
already.
You do. Indiana Jones and Star Wars are part of Disney. And what I'm hoping is that we can
So is Captain EO, technically.
That's Lucasfilm as well.
Yes.
If we could turn Tomorrowland just into Star Wars Land, that would be the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I don't know that I 100% agree with you.
If it was like Bespin.
See, but okay, in Florida...
They have like a Star Wars Land, yeah.
Yes, they have a Star Wars Land, and I like it.
Yeah.
I don't want all of Tomorrowland to turn into Star Wars Land. I'm fine with turning part of it into Star Wars Land.
Okay.
But
I just want a Star Wars Land.
And
it doesn't have to be Tomorrowland.
I also want
to redo Tomorrowland on a separate, completely unrelated note.
I do too, and I have a ton of ideas for that.
Yeah.
I once told the president of Disneyland, and I'm not kidding about this, that I wanted to be the king of Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Yes.
What did he say? He was like, no.
He laughed.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, that."
And you're like, "I'm not kidding.
I'm sure that would be great." And I was like, "You're not going to let me do it."
I know it would.
Yeah.
that's my point.
Yeah. But I feel proud of myself that I actually told him that to his face.
Yeah. So George Lucas made a pretty penny here, about $4 billion extra.
Yeah, but let's go. Let's just go over the scorecard here real quick. Now Disney has Lucasfilm, which includes LucasArts and includes Industrial Light and Magic.
Yes, Skywalker Sound, all that production facility.
That's amazing.
All of Marin County, basically.
Right. So Lucasfilm, Pixar, Marvel.
Yes.
The Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
Their own
Disney stuff.
Yeah. Am I forgetting something?
No, I think that's it.
So aside from Batman and Superman, they own my entire childhood.
I mean, you could argue that if you want to list like big things, Pirates of the Caribbean is a huge property.
Well, sure,
we can go into that, but that's Disney,
right? But their whole touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's very smart of them because they don't have the Walt Disney magic anymore.
Right,
They don't have that ability, in my opinion.
They have. Well, at least they haven't demonstrated it.
Pixar
picked it up.
And to me, Pixar's it's got its own feel. It's not Walt Disney. I love Pixar, and I think they're the most talented people
out there. It's the closest to Disney, though.
It's the closest to Walt Disney films that you're going to get.
Yeah.
So I think that's smart of them to do this.
But that's why I argue that Disney should stop trying to do 3D films like Tangled and do 2D because nobody else is doing that.
Well, that's what was great. I know. I still like that. I don't know why they think there's no market for it.
I don't know.
Anyways, so Kathleen Kennedy is now the in charge of Lucasfilm.
Right.
So it's still going to remain Lucasfilm, owned by Disney. It's not. You're still going to see a Lucasfilm logo at the start of this movie. Now, that is, to me, the number one thing that I'm saddest about is that I will not see this film open with a 20th Century Fox fanfare. And to me, that's part of Star Wars.
Well,
that's a travesty to me.
I do understand that because
I don't want to see a castle.
I understand that, but and you know what, you do have a point because it was
Star
Wars that brought back the fanfare for 20th Century Fox. That's like a part.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's still a distribution deal with Fox.
I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's in place as Lucasfilm had that in place. Because I believe 20th Century did the Red Tails movie that Lucasfilm released last year too.
I believe so.
So I would not be surprised if that's still the case. It's not like Disney's not going to make enough money. So.
Well, yeah, and they do. You see studios together. You'll see Paramount and DreamWorks go together.
And whatever. And you know what I think would be I would be totally fine with this is if they just worked out a deal so that if they want to put the Disney castle in front, do it with the 20th Century Fox fanfare. I think that would be great.
No, see, the way I feel like it has to go is you have to go Disney Castle, and you go and then you go.
Oh yeah, you can do both.
So you can
do both.
Yeah, that's fine. Disney thing. Now, once the 20th century, we're starting.
I mean, because that's where I start to get super excited in those movies. Like I hear those drums, and I'm like, oh man, Star Wars is happening right now.
Yes.
Yes. So Kathleen Kennedy, great person to put in charge. Well,
sure. I mean,
she's completely trust her with everything.
Like, yeah. I mean, she did all the Indiana Jones.
Yeah, she knows what's going on.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Now, quickly before we get into the actual film, LucasArts gone now.
Yeah, they broke that up.
Gone, and then they recently announced that Disney's giving EA, which I have to say I'm happy about. Like, people don't like EA. I don't care. I really hate games that Disney makes.
Yes,
Disney makes bad games.
But Disney Interactive has also been broken up as well.
Okay, but I would rather they give it to EA. They actually make good games.
Yeah.
And I know that they've said, we're not going to see a game probably until that movie comes out.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's
But you know what? I haven't seen a game anyway, so
and there's a long development cycle on games. I wouldn't want them to try and do one faster than that.
Correct.
I know DICE is going to pre-producing one. They're the company that makes the Battlefield games.
Uh-huh.
So I'm hoping that maybe it's like a Battlefront 3.
Ooh,
that would be exciting.
I want Rogue Squadron so bad.
I do too. That's not going to be DICE, but
I understand that, but I'm just saying I really want that. And if anybody out there cares about me at all, they will make that game.
Because if you guys, for people who don't know, like Star Wars games used to be like some of the best reviewed games there were.
Yeah, they were good.
Like they were very good games.
And now we are talking a while ago. There was X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Dark Forces.
Yeah, all that stuff. Rebel Assault.
Rebel Assault was fantastic.
And then you get, but they haven't existed this entire generation of games.
Right. There's people who are like graduating high school who have no idea what a good Star Wars game looks like.
That's true. Okay, so let's get into episode. Okay.
Unrelated side note.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about LucasArts and I want the dig, people. I want the dig. And I know I can get it. You can get it on, I think it's Steam.
Yeah.
But like, why is it not on Xbox Live? Why is it not down for my iPad?
Give me the HD version too.
Right.
Yeah.
Why can't I get that on my iPad?
I don't know, because Lucasfilm is gone. LucasArts is gone.
I'm just saying. Seems like a natural thing.
I agree.
I have The Secret of Monkey Island on my Xbox.
Yeah.
That's Lucasfilm.
I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry.
I understand. But
So anyway, so episode 7, I'm going to go through some stuff. This is what we know based on, or it's not so much what we know, it's what is out there. People have said things in interviews that led us to believe these things.
Greg, you will read the news?
Yes.
And I will react
That's
to it.
right.
Yes.
So for starters, so George Lucas is going to be creative consultant on all these. That's no shock.
No, right. I did know that.
And when they acquired Lucasfilm, they acquired his quote-unquote extensive outline.
Right, so they're doing the story that he wrote.
So this has, so it's been confirmed then that there's nothing in here that's going to be from the Star Wars expanded universe. All the novels and books, that's getting, I want to say it's getting thrown out, but
I don't know how they're going to deal with that.
It may get basically written over. because that has nothing to do with this. This is George Lucas's original 9-movie treatment, and he's actually fleshed out these further since then.
Correct. And in case those of you out there who are not as big of Star Wars geeks as us,
I know we could be talking way beyond people right now.
I do want to say that George Lucas did originally write a prequel series, a main series, and a sequel series, 7, 8, and 9. He did have story outlines for that all the way back to the beginning.
70s,
yeah. So for those of us...
it's not just Disney making this up.
No. Yeah. No. I've known about this for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
And that makes it okay to me.
It does make it okay to me. Like if they, that's why when we talk about those other movies, it's not okay.
Right. This combined with J.J. Abrams makes it that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know that we really need to talk about J.J. Abrams. I think he's a good choice for this. He basically made the remake of Star Trek, a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
So I know he can do it.
And this is basically his dream project.
Yes.
I feel very confident that he is such a huge fan of this.
He's not in good hands. Yeah. And he's going to talk to George Lucas all the time.
And he's going to want to make Star Wars.
Yeah, but we're going to get his, potentially better ability in directing actors.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. I have no problems with J.J. Abrams.
I feel the same way about J.J. Abrams as a final note on this that I did about Disney acquiring Lucasfilm. Yeah. Like, I can't think of who I'd rather. Give it to.
And by the way, Kathleen Kennedy alluded to the fact that if they had their druthers, he will direct all 3 of them.
Right.
I don't know that that's going to happen. It's up to him. But
I don't know why he would turn that down, though.
Yeah. So George Lucas, creative consultant. Mm-hmm. It's episode 7 is being written by Michael Arndt, who wrote Toy Story 3, and he wrote the sequel to The Hunger Games.
I'm on board with that.
Oddly enough, though, according to IMDb, he also wrote Oblivion under a surname.
But why do you think he used a surname?
It's true. He used a different name. I don't know. Like that was like I was like, oh, Toy Story 3. Well, that was a great script with tons of character, and I was like, well, this is in good hands. And then I'm like, wait, Oblivion. We just finished trashing that movie 2 weeks ago. Not really trashing it, but so that one is the outlier. But I believe I have faith in him. I mean, there's no way that Oblivion and Star Wars,
Yeah.
So he's writing it. He's not writing the other films. I know that I'll get to it later, but so original story not based on anything expanded universe, post Return of the Jedi time period, which we've already gone over. They're supposedly this summer will be starting production on battle sequences in England.
Okay.
And the film will be entirely filmed in the UK, which I think is only right.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
They're all filmed. They've all been filmed there.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
J.J. Abrams has come out and said he expects John Williams to score the movie.
Right.
So no one's made a deal with John Williams, but he's like...
why wouldn't John Williams
Of course John Williams is going to score it unless John Williams says he doesn't want to. John Williams says, absolutely, as long as I'm physically able to do it,
right.
I would like to do that.
Here's something I know I brought up to you before, which is, should, God forbid, okay, Xenu forbid, that something were to happen to John Williams or he's too infirmed to take care of it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I know that the next person in line, because it's J.J. Abrams, would of course be...
Michael Giacchino.
Right, Michael Giacchino. And he...
That's good, because his stuff sounds a lot like that.
Well, first of all, he is to John Williams what J.J. Abrams is to Star Wars. Like, that's what he wants to do. Once again...
Yeah.
Who would you rather have?
Exactly.
So it's just a series of like dominoes.
I could even foresee, him even maybe John Williams scores episode 7, and he's at 80 something. Right. Maybe he doesn't get to 7, 8, or maybe he's alive, but maybe he writes some themes and then says, "Hey, Michael Giacchino,
go ahead,
you fill the score," like he did for Harry Potter.
Right.
He wrote the first Harry Potter movie, and then he just went, "You need a new theme for that guy? Here it is. Now you go fill in the score."
Right.
And I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of walk us through like the last. This news came out in November, and then news about the movie started coming out in February. So I'll kind of walk us like what we knew when.
Okay, go ahead.
So February of this year, Mark Hamill said they're talking to us, meaning the original cast, meaning him, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher.
Right.
We're going to go have a meeting with Kathleen Kennedy and the screenwriter.
Right.
So everyone was like, oh, so you guys are in on it. And George Lucas met with all 3 of them prior to selling Lucasfilm to say, this is what's going on. Now, we don't know what happened in that meeting, but why would you meet with them? He can sell it. He's not beholden to them at all, right?
Right.
So, and then in March, Carrie Fisher said that she would reprise her role as Princess Leia in episode 7. She said she'd be elderly, an intergalactic older person who is less inclined to be up for a big battle, like
a matriarch.
Well,
she's
right.
like,
and then immediately her people came out and said she was kidding. Nothing's been announced.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, well, come on, that's a mistake. And then a day later, George Lucas said Hamill, Ford, and Fisher are in the final stages of negotiation, and that they were in discussions to return prior to selling to Disney, which makes sense.
Right.
And then he's like, well, maybe I wasn't supposed to say that. Like, I think they want to have some big announcement.
All right.
But,
so it looks like...
He's like, so I'm not going to tell you whether negotiations are complete or successful or not.
Right.
But they want them.
Right. And Harrison Ford I've heard similar rumblings.
Yeah, Harrison Ford's been the most cagey.
Yeah.
He's been
Ford.
I'd love to do it. And then, and he said the other day, or recently on a night show, he was like, well... they haven't asked me to be in one, so how do you think I felt for the last 20 years? But, so I'm like, well, so I think he's kind of having fun with it.
Yeah.
He's being a little cagey about it. And then, so last month, Disney announced that they're going to release a new Star Wars film every year starting 2015.
Oh.
But the main episodes will be every other or every 2 years with these standalone character films interspersed in between.
Oh, God.
And so this is by all the way, I don't know who's directing those, because Brad Robot's obviously producing the prequel.
Right.
That's J.J. Abrams' company, and Brian Burke is his main producer guy.
Right.
So he said that, they're going to start principal photography early next year, all in the UK, and that Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill are expected to return. So I think we can pretty much confirm that they're going to be in it.
Yeah, which is exciting to me.
And I had also read a thing at some point where Carrie Fisher made a comment about how they've got her on some crazy weight loss program.
Right. Well, see, I'm excited about that. And I've heard a lot of grumblings from people like, oh, Carrie Fisher, blah, 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 or Mark Hamill's old, or Harrison Ford. I'm like, guys,
get them in there.
I want them in there. I don't care.
That's right.
And you know what? People get old. Guess what? I guess Luke Skywalker got old. Like, it happens. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Why can't Harrison Ford why can't Han Solo be an old man?
Yeah. I think that'd be great.
I think let's do it.
I just want to see those people
in
those characters again.
That's right.
That has me really excited.
Yes.
And it also has me really excited to be back into, sometime in the future, but that old universe.
But there's a good chance I'll see an X-Wing.
Right. Well, the nice thing about that was what actually works for the prequels is that everything is it's the Republic and everything's clean and nice, and the original trilogy
is
deteriorated. So now, what's the state of affairs going to be?
Right.
Like, it can't be better.
Well, you could have pockets of better.
You could have pockets of better, but who knows how the Rebel Alliance? They just blew up the Death Star. They didn't defeat the Empire. So what happened? So that'll be real interesting to me. So these interstitial movies, I have to say I'm super excited about a new trilogy. Not excited at all about this.
No, not at all.
And no one has actually said this is what the movies will be, but the rumors are like, oh, we're going to have a Boba Fett movie.
Which I'm against. I'm against Boba Fett.
And we're going to have a Yoda
This is the one part
movie
of Star Wars I do want to say.
I'm against Boba Fett, too.
I'm against Boba Fett. He's not as cool as people think he is.
He's a dumb character who got hit in the back by a blind guy and died.
And he died in the Sarlacc pit. I don't care what little stories you've read. He's dead in the Sarlacc pit. It burped.
It did burp.
It burped.
It swallowed him. Yeah, that means it swallowed him. It burped.
And I don't need a whole Boba Fett movie. Boba Fett is...
He's not that interesting. He's just a bounty hunter.
He's a stormtrooper in different armor. We learned that from the prequels.
That's right. Yeah, if there's anything we learned from the prequels.
And...
He just...
Now, a Yoda movie...
film. It's going to...
I'm against the idea of these standalone films. Yoda happens to be, like, my favorite character.
Yeah, but I think they're going to... I have a problem with the Yoda film in that... Because there's a lot of people who have a problem with Yoda's fight in Episode 2. Because they're
I love that.
How did he, he couldn't do all that stuff. He does the same thing in Episode 3, too. And they're like, he's, old. He can't do that. And I'm like, you're right. But, so is this Yoda film? He's dead in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
So where does this take
place?
Why
can't he do that?
No, I was fine with that. People think that kind of ruined the old wise man character by having him jumping around.
I disagree.
I disagree too. I thought it made him cooler.
It made him cooler.
He's obviously older when you get to Empire Strikes Back.
Well, for
he's
sure.
Obviously a lot of,
and not only that, but it's just you're seeing. He had to do what he's got to do.
That's right. You got to summon up some strength.
And quite frankly, and I'm looking at all of you actors in Episode 3, No moment had me more on the edge of my seat and like choked up and tense than when Yoda was crawling through those tunnels after his fight with the Emperor.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Smith shows up to help him escape.
Yeah.
Like that, I was like, go Yoda, go! Like, nothing was more tense than that.
It's true.
And he was all CGI.
They didn't even have a Gollum mocap on him.
Nope.
That's pure animation talent.
That's right.
Yeah.
So A+, guys.
Yeah, bravo. So I don't know. So that has to be like a prequel series movie or like a in between. Like here's Yoda on Dagobah, like fighting off Minox. Like what? Like what?
Tina, don't you want to see that?
Kind of, but I don't still want to see it for 2 hours. Like and that's okay. So how you feel about God damn it, you're gonna take my money and I'm gonna give it to you. That's how I feel about these movies.
Okay.
Because I don't want to, but I'm going to because it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so do you open these movies with a Star Wars scroll? I say you're not allowed to.
Right. No, I think no.
So there's a lot of questions that are going through my head.
Yeah.
And the main one is, why are you doing this?
Right.
It's not enough to have a new Star Wars movie every 2 years basically have Star Wars for the next decade.
Right.
That's not enough.
No.
You gotta basically put even more into the market and saturate the market even more and make more people sick of it.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's like Marvel's getting a little bit too much.
I understand
Marvel
that.
needs maybe one movie a year. Marvel, back it off.
Right. And I've also heard, and the one that really confirms what you're saying to me is that I've heard rumors, and of course this is all rumors, of a Han Solo movie.
I don't think Harrison Ford would do that. So
well,
it would have to be a new character as young Han Solo or something.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I've heard, is that it's young Han Solo.
No.
And that means that they would cast someone else to play Han Solo, and I'm saying don't do that.
Unless it's you.
No, don't even, no.
I thought I had you.
No, not even me. Not even me.
Okay.
I would consider playing a young Lando Calrissian, but that is an entirely different matter.
So that's...
But the reason I say it is this. You don't need a young Han Solo because you can't... I don't want you to recast Harrison Ford. Just write your young Han Solo movie and then call him Blonde Golo. And now you have a whole movie about a brand new character who's just like Han Solo.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with you using someone besides Harrison Ford.
Well, and if you've ever read a Star Wars book, there's tons of that.
Right. Dash Rendar. Do Dash Rendar's movie.
There you go.
Yeah. Come on.
That brings up something.
I would like to see the introduction of the Faline into
the
movies.
The Prince Caesars.
Yes.
There's some people right now who are like, what are they talking
about? I know!
That's great, though. Don't worry
about it. That's why this is the Star Wars Spectacular.
That's right.
I get to say these things, and you have to listen.
So Billy D, of course, so everyone's going around asking everyone, are you in it? Are you in it?
Right.
So Billy D has basically said, well, no one's spoken to me. Obviously I would be in, and I'd be kind of offended if Lando wasn't in it. And I'm like, that's the correct answer.
That's the correct answer.
Lando needs to be in this movie.
Absolutely.
Lando's the best.
Lando is the best, and Billy D needs to... I mean, what's he doing?
Right.
I haven't seen Billy D lately. Bring him in.
Yeah. And then and he could lose some weight, too. Or not. I think, actually...
I say no. I think he should gain weight.
He's pretty big now.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm saying gain weight.
Just be a huge fat Lando in a wheelchair. Hey, guys.
You got it.
Yeah, I'm coming right up.
Just a little higher. Just a little higher. Pan out to see that someone's scrubbing his back for him.
Yes, that would be great. And then Anthony,
but he still has sexy girls around him.
Yes, and then Anthony Daniels, who is C-3PO.
Well, right.
He said basically like, well, I'm not going to say no. I'm not like sitting by the phone waiting for their call, but it'd be nice if it rang. And he's gonna. I mean,
come on, you're gonna do Star Wars now without C-3PO?
That's the thing. So R2 and 3PO are the characters that make it all 9 episodes. So
that's what I'm saying.
Of course they're gonna be in it.
They have to be,
and it'll be great because R2 will just be like, being held together basically by Luke. Like he'll be so old, and there'll be so much newer robots, I assume.
Right.
Or that would be interesting.
Just don't kill people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about.
So that's like kind of what we know about 7. And I'm sure that my guess would be next year when. What is it, Captain America? That would be my guess for the premiere of the teaser.
Oh, okay.
Would be like summer 2014. We would get the teaser for the Star Wars summer 2015.
Summer 2015 is when it comes out?
The same year as the Avengers, which is a Disney 1-2 punch.
I could see something this Christmas getting the...
Really? More than a year out?
No, but it's going to get one of these.
Just the titles? Just the music,
You remember the legend.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be that. It could
just cut old stuff and
nothing new. Yeah, no footage.
2015.
Yeah, maybe so.
7, and they'll give you a 7. They won't even call it Star Wars 7.
Just the VII.
Yeah, and you'll be like,
yeah, that's true. One of my favorite things about new Star Wars movies is what the title will be, because there's always an uproar. But now think about it, like you have no problem with any of the titles.
But you're talking to the wrong person, because I never did.
I never did either. But even though I was like, well, that's kind of a weird name. Like, I loved Attack of the Clones the minute I heard it.
I did too.
I was like, this is the greatest Star Wars title ever.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be. It's a B movie, guys.
I know.
We're talking about
they're supposed to be bad sci-fi serials. They're supposed to be a good version of that.
Right, so of old Flash Gordon stuff. Attack of the Clone.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
And Revenge of the Sith, I pretty much jizzed my pants.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it's just like Revenge of the Jedi, which they turned into Return of the Jedi. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, so I can't wait to hear what the subtitle will be for Episode 7. Because...
Too damn old.
Well, because that's the one thing... So here's the one thing that I'm hoping that they'll do with these new movies. Because we had the prequels marketed to us as Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. But the other ones were marketed to us as The Empire Strikes Back. I want to go back to that. I
don't want Episode 7.
Star Wars, the subtitle. I don't want the episode name. I know we have to call it... It's going to say Episode 7, which I'm on board with. And we have to call it that because we don't know what the hell to call it.
And Ewok just died in the music.
I know, it was that part. But I want to get to the... the subtitle being what we're marketing as. Star Wars this.
And I really think they should go back and try to rebrand the prequels.
Yeah.
As Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So you get The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, just like we refer to Star Wars, and which will allow us to do what should be done, which is to call A New Hope Star Wars.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I still, when I say Star Wars,
that's what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about
otherwise you say Empire, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's also been reported that Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Episode 5 and 6... Right.
And Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And Simon Kinberg would be writing and producing episodes 8 and 9. And then later on it clarified that they'd be working on future Star Wars project, but not necessarily 8 and 9. And I'm like, really?
It's just more of that.
Just because they want to roll, I believe they're working on 8 and 9. Because why do you not put him on those, number one?
Well, I would put Kasdan on any and all of them.
And number two, like, of course he's going to be working on those because they want to roll these productions back to back to back.
Right.
Like, I would assume they're probably going to be a little bit rushed to get this out by 2015 when we talk about the number of effects in a Star Wars film.
Right.
But if they can have...
Unless they do what I think they should do and not do everything special effects.
Well, I feel like JJ might jump on that. He's not so much in Star Trek, but he didn't really do it in Star Trek, but Star Wars still has that. I mean, I know that everyone likes to think it's all CGI, but they still have that legacy. There's just a lot CGI, and I don't think JJ will be doing some of the weirder stuff that George Lucas did with CGI.
Right, at least I hope. Well, I just know that JJ's a fan of the original trilogy. Like, that's what he grew up with, just like we did.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's what he wants to emulate.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Yeah. So, last thing I want to do here is talk about... This is stuff that is not recent news, but this is info that we've gathered since 1980 on what George Lucas says 7, 8, and 9 will be about.
Oh, okay. I have no idea.
And so this is pure speculation as to will this be what it's about?
Right.
Well, I assume if they're getting his treatment, something in here will be something. So, he said in 1980 and 1982, he said that Episode 7 would begin roughly 20 or perhaps 30 or 40 years after Jedi, which makes sense when you think about that. Yeah, we're still going to use same actors who are now 20 or 30 years older. Yeah, they're more than 30 years.
Well,
or no.
The Return of the Jedi came out in 1983.
Yeah.
So that was the year I was born.
Right. So more than 30 years.
Yes.
Yes. I don't do math. R2 and 3PO.
Well, it can't be more than 30 years. It's exactly 30 years.
Yes. According to Lucas, in 80, 81, and 83, R2 and 3PO would be the only characters who might continue through all 9.
That would make sense.
So we might not see Han Solo in 8 and 9 or in 9. They might, they may just be... Maybe they'll just open this and hand it off to new people.
Which I'm fine with.
I'm fine with. So, obviously, as we just said, you have to have R2 and 3PO throughout all because they're droids.
And they're the storytellers.
Yeah. In 1980, Lucas said that it would deal with the rebuilding of the Republic.
Okay.
Trying to basically get us back to where we were in Episode 1, which is interesting.
Which was what it should be.
And then...
Really?
And then he said in 1980, it's like a saga, the story of a group of people, a family. Of course it's about that.
We're going to have
the Skywalker family. Of course we'll have Leia and Han's children, I assume.
Right.
I don't know that, but
I would like that.
Yeah. And then they says in he said it's like a saga. Or I read that. Focus would be on Skywalker's journey to becoming the premier Jedi Knight, with Luke's sister appearing in Episode 8, and the first appearance of the Emperor and Luke's ultimate confrontation with him in Episode 9. So that was prior to making any of the Star Wars films.
Right.
That's what he was thinking. So we weren't even going to have... His sister wasn't going to be Leia originally.
Right.
And she was going to get introduced later. And then the Emperor was going to be the penultimate bad guy at the end of Episode 9. That was in his original 9-movie thing, which we all know that the Death Star was only supposed to be in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And they put it in both.
Right.
So, like, there's obviously been changes when there's been different things about...
Correct.
He thought, I'm not going to make anything after Jedi. Let's have the Emperor die here. So, that's an interesting one because that kind of tells you, how...
What he thought.
And how reliable this information is, too.
Right.
And then they say in 88, Lucas said Luke would have a romantic relationship with a female love interest.
Maybe a little Mara Jade.
Interesting.
Action.
We'll see. Well, it won't be her because that's getting thrown out the door.
Oh, that's true.
But I could see that whole thing getting thrown out, too, because they want to introduce new characters and get Luke out of it.
And also because Luke's too old to be falling in love now.
Yeah.
But then what? Luke never had a child? There's no heir to the...
I don't know. Maybe not. Well, I don't know.
Maybe Jedis don't do that.
Yeah.
He is a Jedi, and the old Jedis didn't do that shit.
Yeah. In 83, he said they would be in their 60s and 70s, the main cast of Star Wars. Which they are. And then he said in Episode 9, Hamill would cameo like Obi-Wan as a spirit.
Oh,
I was like, they have to do that. I'm all for that. That would be great.
In 9?
We'll just have Luke get killed in some awesome scene, and then have his spirit come back and be
Uncle Luke.
Uncle Luke, yes. He'll be like, run, young Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No!
So that's kind of some info that, may or may not be true or was true but may no longer be true because I'm sure he's rewritten that.
But it certainly gives you something to think about in the cold, dark nights, doesn't it?
So if you're like us and you're just can't wait for more information, then you're like us. I don't have anywhere to go with that.
No, I understand that.
I don't have more
But
information.
I learned some new things here. I did not know a lot of this stuff.
So hopefully we get to look forward to seeing the main characters return.
Mostly because I'm afraid to find out something that will upset me.
Yeah. So far I haven't.
I haven't either, but once I found out who was doing it, and where we were going, I'm like, okay, then I'm not gonna. And I still like to find these things out, which is why I like that you bring these things up. But I just kind of go, all right, I'm gonna wait until I see a trailer. Like I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
You started me out good. Now anything between here and there, because what I dislike, despite what we just told you and all the things, is the rampant, vitriolic speculation that goes on the internet, where people are getting all up in arms about things that may or may not even be true.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't get upset about it.
Till you know.
J.J. Abrams was doing it.
But I'm even an advocate of don't get upset about it till you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that may be the most abhorrent idea to you ever, that this is going to happen in the movie, and then when you see it, maybe they did it in a way that was great.
Right.
That happens all the time.
Well, what my problem is, and this is I think where we should end with Star Wars, because it was true of the prequels, it was true of the original trilogy, and it's going to be true of this new trilogy, is people who are massive fans of things make up their mind about certain, and not all of them, but there's a faction that make up their mind about
before
what they hear about a movie,
and
so they go into it with the attitude of, I can't believe they're going to do this. You better prove to me that it's
no, then you're not going to like it.
Well, you've already put yourself in a hole.
You're putting a bunch
and you're
of
not,
stuff.
You're not going into Star Wars with the eyes that you did when you saw the original Star Wars as a little child.
Yeah.
And just to bring it full circle, that's really what I'm promoting here is, if you're a Star Wars fan like I am, you don't know how this is going to turn out. Please, it is happening.
Yeah. You can't do anything about it.
You can't do anything about it. And really, there's worse things than you get more Star Wars.
And they've put people in positions of power who I really think are...
Who are the right people.
Are good people for this.
It's not like they said that, Wes Anderson's doing the next Star Wars film. Which I would probably want to see.
I would probably see it. But Terrence Malick.
right. Or even Michael Bay. I don't know that I'd want to see Michael Bay.
No, I don't know that I would. I definitely wouldn't, actually.
Right. I don't think that's what it needs.
No.
You want someone who's going to be reverent to your childhood.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've got here so far. and until you've seen the movie, and you should go see this movie with the eyes that Star Wars intends, which is the eyes of an innocent, the eyes of a child who is seeing something special.
Yeah. Well, I am bothered by people who tell me that those prequels, what happened in that's not what should have happened. This is what should have happened. When we're talking about something that came out of one man's head. All of this came out of one man's head. So how dare you assume that what you think should happen is what should happen when there's one person who created all of this? Well, that's the only person whose word matters, and what he says happened is what happened.
Now, you could not like what he says happened.
But it's not wrong.
It's not wrong because he effing made everything up.
Yeah, you don't have anything to do with it.
Right.
He made it all up. All of it, he made it all up.
You don't like the way he did it? Go make up your own special fantasy
world. That's one of the unique,
world.
Amazing things about Star Wars is he made it all up.
Yes.
Like, there's no other movie where...
I'm not saying you have to like what he made up, but you can't say that it was the wrong thing to make up.
And there's one other thing I want to say that I was going to say earlier, but I forgot, is that there's something about Star Wars where it doesn't feel like it's derived from a lot of other films, but now a lot of other films do feel derivative of Star Wars. Well, parts of them feel derivative of Star Wars.
Okay,
Star Wars is... every film is obviously derivative of other films.
Yes.
But... the films that Star Wars is derivative of, we don't talk about movies today. We say movies today are derivative of Star Wars, even though they're technically derivative of the movie that Star Wars is derivative of.
Star Wars is derivative of Forbidden Planet.
Because Star Wars is a giant mark on the timeline of film.
It is.
It's a huge, thick, black Sharpie marker line.
Yes, and here's what I want to say.
And from henceforth, everything must now go back that far, you know? It's one of those types of things.
It is.
Yeah.
And I guess I just want to say this in closing about that comment, which is Star Wars is a great example of what we talked about last time in the style conversation, which is steal, steal, steal. Yeah. And if you steal from enough different places, you create something that is uniquely your own.
There's a lot to steal from Star Wars.
Well, not only is there a lot to steal from Star Wars, but what I'm saying is that Star Wars stole from from so many places
that it
became its own thing.
It's its own thing. You don't exactly. It's perfect.
It is a great example of that. So as a style, it can teach you that as a filmmaker. As a person, it can teach you about how to transcend even language and how to tell a story at its most simple level. Mm-hmm. And on just a human level, it's something that you can enjoy with the most childlike part of your soul. And that's what I say. Go forth and enjoy Star Wars and these new movies with the most childish part of your soul.
Here's a fun fact that I discovered in this search for Star Wars facts. Steven Spielberg, obviously good friends with George Lucas. George Lucas was so terrified that Star Wars was going to be awful because he
Close Encounters.
Yes, but I have a number for you.
Okay, I know the number.
George Lucas went on the set of Close Encounters and was like, "I'll trade you 2.5 points on Star Wars for 2.5 points on Close Encounters."
Yep.
And Spielberg was like, "That's fine." Now Close Encounters then went on to be like the highest-grossing film of all time. So George Lucas was like, "This is great." Then Star Wars came out, which obviously beyond anything, and the estimate is that Steven Spielberg to date, for doing nothing, has made $46.5 million off of Star Wars, off of the original Star Wars.
That sounds about right.
I love that.
I love that too.
I wish I had 2.5 points of Star Wars. I wish I had half a point of Star Wars.
Yeah, seriously. No, I knew that. I freaking love those guys.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, that's Star Wars. Listen, I think it was good because obviously you and I needed to get some Star Wars off our chest. So, if nothing else, we've now gotten this. We've said it. It's out there. We can now move on about all other films and film school.
I agree. Things. We'll be back next week with a more
traditional topic. Yeah. And our topic's going to be film school teachers.
Teachers, huh?
Yes, professors.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yes. Always, we have our three archetypes, apparently.
No, I don't want to cover the ugly ones. That's all of them.
Oh, geez. Holy crap. I don't think I feel that way at all. My God.
I'm so sorry.
That was awful.
I'm so sorry.
So that
is not true. That is not true at all.
That'll be our. We're back to the old style next week.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's a great topic, Greg. So, check us out on Facebook.
Yes, check us out on the Facebooks, FITB Podcast, YouTube, enhanced version, Stitcher, subscribe on iTunes, all the things. You know what to do.
Yeah.
Like us, please. Tell your friends. and enjoy your week.
And may the force be with you.
Yes.
Always.